Hello, and welcome to this special episode of A Product of Proverbs. I know we're not supposed to be back until the fall, but there's a lot going on in this world right now, and we just wanted to share some of these conversations that we've been having internally with our listeners because we feel like it may help, and some of you have even asked for it. So, as difficult as this may be, here it goes. But before we get started, we just wanted to put a couple of kind of disclaimers out there. The first one is going to be that nothing that's said on this podcast is an official statement or represents our employers, any organization we're a part of, any group that you know us by. This is Joshua Fowler and Roy Fowler talking. Times are tough. It's a lot going on. Before we even jump into those, rest in peace, George Floyd. We can go down a list of names that I could read off for an hour, but these names aren't just names. These are humans that were brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and cousins and uncles and nieces and nephews and mentors and mentees and best friends. These were pet owners. These were people that played basketball at LA Fitness. These were people that enjoyed video games. These were people that would like to walk on the beach and go get some ice cream. These are human beings. I really just want to emphasize that because I feel myself personally getting desensitized to all of the names that flash across the screen. We can't even keep up. But remember that it's not a name, and there's a soul. There's a whole human behind that picture. A human who is no longer on this earth with us due to something we'll get into with this episode. This is a product of Proverbs. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I really don't know what to say. This episode will be tricky. So what I'm going to do is turn it over to my dad, let him make sort of an opening statement, kind of set the tone for this episode. It's not going to be too much structure. Realistically, this is just going to be therapeutic because sitting here talking to my dad is therapeutic, talking to people, expressing yourself, that's therapeutic. But also to all of our listeners out there, don't stop there. Please don't stop on Facebook. Don't stop on Instagram. Don't stop and group me. Don't stop texting and calling people. Go see a therapist. I'm not even making a recommendation. That's almost direct instructions. I'm going to see my therapist tomorrow at 8 a.m. So let's just put that out there. I haven't seen her in 6 months because I was doing okay. And then this. So protect your mental. If you need a recommendation, if you just kind of need somewhere to start, DM us on Instagram, send us a message on Facebook, text me personally. I don't want to see any of you guys lose your mind, lose your soul, or lose your life to this foolishness. So please get help if and when you need help. But with that, I'm going to pass this over to my dad so we can pop this off. What's up, Dad?
Well, Josh, it's a lot up. We're living in a different day. It's really a lot going on. And I think we need to, it's a lot to really absorb. I've thought about all the things that's going on, in my life. And it's never been anything like this. From the leadership all the way down, it's just so surreal. It don't seem like this would be anything that you would find really happening, especially in America this time. But it is.
On that because you started off saying in my lifetime. Rodney King.
I don't think Rodney King was to this magnitude. I think when I don't know if it's because of all that has transpired down, in such a short period of time, but it don't seem like it was affected the world in '92 I don't remember it being so broad and widespread and then lasting so long. You know, it's going into what, 7 days that this has been going on, and I can't recall that happening. It wasn't like that, but it hit real hard and it real heavy. But the thing about this, with the real violence, it hadn't started yet. I mean, you're tearing up stuff, but as far as hurting people and killing people, that hadn't happened, and I pray that it don't. But if it don't calm down, but it's so much fuel being put on the fire where it should be different, and it just blows my mind. I can't see why. It basically shows where leadership is. Let me say this. We talk about the presidents. Let's just say, just when President Obama was president, he made this statement: "I'm the president of all the people of the United States of America." But this president is not doing that. He's got his group that he's dealing with, that he's fueling, that he's listening to, that he's catering to. Because the very conference that he had today should have gone a different way and could have changed the climate of this situation. But he didn't go that way. He listened to the wrong people.
And we joked about this earlier, about this being the Malcolm versus Martin episode, with you coming from a perspective of someone that was around during that civil rights movement and saw firsthand some of the after effects of segregation and integration. Someone that's been to multiple marches, someone that's honestly had a little bit of time on this earth to come to grasp with how things are and accept what they are. And on the flip side, you got me, that I graduated high school in 2012, 8 years ago.
Right.
So I did 4 years of college. I've done 4 years of life. So from the day I can earliest remember until when I graduated high school, this world and what's going on now wasn't even a possibility. You got to think, like, it was all so simple just such a short while ago. I remember going to vote for Obama, my first time ever voting, and now it just seems like the blink of an eye, because it was that fast that I went to college and then interned and started the career, and now we're here, and it's just like, what is going on? And you made a statement in a very political and a very Martin, who's going to have to work with both sides, way. I'm done holding my tongue. For the 45th, I don't have a fiber in my body that's got an ounce of respect for him as a human, as a leader, just as a being. And realistically, I don't get into political issues because politics is a game, but I know people that were Trump supporters and now can't really do that. So therefore, I do kind of got to draw the line in the sand. If you support this right now, you got to cut those ties, because you hate yourself. Realistically, you don't love people. You don't love life, because I saw Donald Trump order the military to shoot tear gas into a crowd of mostly white protesters.
Americans.
Americans.
They were not rioting.
They weren't.
They were not looting.
They weren't thugs.
They weren't. They was just standing there, exercising their constitutional rights, and he showed that he's not one that's going to follow the rules of law, which he said he's the president of law and order, but he's not following the rules of law, and that's just not acceptable. And I hope people see that, and I wonder how many people because of pride, won't admit that they made a mistake. Pride is a terrible thing because it'll keep you from being honest. But America is in trouble.
I can't understand this perspective from a lot of you people that's been around for a while, because it seemed like it's been in trouble to me. If I can look in history, it started off in trouble, and then we just kind of have been trouble up until this point.
But it was manageable. Yeah, it was manageable. Every government, every society has its issues. There's no perfect society, no perfect government, but you're able to work within it. But you work towards as much as you can towards peace, prosperity, and the thing is, human dignity. We've come a long way, but we have a long way to go in the fact. Only thing people want is equal treatment. I never wanted a favor. I've never been a person that wanted a favor. Just give me a chance. Give me the same chance to give anybody else. That's all I ever asked for. And that's all anybody wants. We don't want special treatment, no privilege, just the same opportunity that anybody would be given. And that's all you want.
Nah, listeners, y'all can't see me right now, but I'm shaking my head because I want special privilege just because I feel that I'm owed it, because I was given special treatment the negative way for as long as I can remember reading a history book. Don't they have to even the playing grounds? Not that I want affirmative action to get a job, but systematically, we're owed. We're owed. So don't give me the equal treatment of everybody else when I've worked twice as hard as everybody else. Give me twice the reward everybody else gets.
That's if you work, since you work twice as hard.
Well, I haven't done it, but the ones y'all buried that didn't have a chance to work smarter, not harder like I do, they had to work twice as hard. And I'm dealing with the PTSD from what you put them through. So pay me. And that's my generation. That's how we feel.
That's how y'all feel?
Or I can't speak for my generation, but I know there's a subset of people I know that realistically feel like, nah, we get special treatment. Like, y'all owe us. Give us some land. Give us a place to prosper. Give us resources. It don't even got to be a handout. We don't want your measly $1,200. Give us institutions. Give us systems. Give us banks. Give us freedom.
If we get opportunity, we will have all that stuff.
We've had opportunity. I feel like they gave us the opportunity key when they integrated us into their society. We don't have none of that stuff.
I don't necessarily blame them. I blame us, because when we had a chance of integrating, instead of us still doing our own thing, we abandoned our thing and just went to their thing. And that's what happened.
And was that a problem? So this is I'm trapping you in your own words right now, because I want you to say that that's a problem, that we abandoned our own thing, went to their thing, and lost our own thing.
That's what happened.
And that's kind of why we're in the position we're in now.
Yeah, because we could be a lot further along, and
if we had our own thing.
That's what we need.
So there we go. We need freedom. We need freedom to operate our own systems. We need freedom to administer justice ourselves. And not that we don't have anarchy, but I feel a lot better if a black policeman arrests me, takes me to a black judge, and I get a fair sentence that isn't based on any precedent, any court cases that came before, any racist laws that were set in 1876. These are generally based on the guidelines that our community have and standards that we have for conducting ourselves. So our jail would be filled with people that are hurting our own people. Our courts would be funded and careers would be funded by our own activities. Our police would be our police. It's not like we have one of our people on their police. We have our police. Not that I'm for segregation, but I am for free enterprise. And the court system is an enterprise for America. You've seen it. If you were to go to a traffic court, if you go to criminal court, there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that leave the pockets of people that don't have it and go into the pockets of people that don't need it. That's an enterprise. Probation is an enterprise. Prison is an enterprise. Police is an enterprise. If this is the land of the free and we have a chance for free enterprise, why can't we have our own justice enterprise system? Because they don't just have a justice system, they have a justice business model. Why can't we have that too?
I can't answer that because I don't really see how that would work.
How did it work before?
I don't think they had their own system like that before. I think and then when we're talking about what they own, we're talking about business enterprises, not jails and judges and.
Unfortunately, in 2020, that's a business enterprise. I can go buy stocks in private prison this second. We can be recording an episode and I can invest in a private prison.
It might be, but I don't know how you could have those things separate like you're talking about. I don't see how that could happen. I don't see how that would work. I can't see how that would be successful. I mean, how could it work?
Is what we currently have working?
But how would you even start that to work? How would you finance that? How would you develop that? How would you separate that?
In my mind, and I've talked to a couple of people about this, but I honestly feel like we should have our own police force. You don't even have to call it police because I don't know what police means, to keep it honest with you. Call it patrol. Call it whatever you need to call it. But there are private security firms all over the country. There are private investigators. And there's a such thing as a citizen's arrest. So maybe there are times in which we do have to turn our people over to them. Maybe there are times where to make sure that you can go to jail and get a proper court case and not get choked in the street, we have to send black policemen to go catch those warrants. Maybe we should just have some black bounty hunters, or maybe just something to ensure our safety within their system. But as I told Matthew, personally, I don't feel comfortable ever putting handcuffs on, leaving my weapon, and getting in a cop car to go anywhere. Anywhere. I feel that before that happens, put your lights on and follow me to the jailhouse and I'll walk through the front door. But what I'm not going to do is have uncertainty over my safety and life because I don't know what back road you're going to pull off of. I don't know what your character is like. And we can't judge them all. But probability says you've probably had a negative encounter with a cop before. I don't know anybody that's never had, like, there's been people that's looked down cop gun barrels. There have been, when me and Daniel got pulled over and 6 cop cars surrounded our car because we matched burglary suspects. There's been instance after instance of stress, just post-traumatic stress disorder from cop interactions. Eliminate that. That's got to go. This current cop system, that's got to go. It don't work. Maybe not the whole court system. Maybe you're right, because realistically, America ain't going to let that court money leave their system.
Well, you got to think how the system works, though, Joshua. You know, it starts at the top. If you take it at the top with the Supreme Court, and then it works down, and it just comes all the way down to the local principalities. And that's how, so they got the system starts, and it's a complete system. If we were to just come in, we couldn't match that whole system separately.
I don't think we should match something that's broken. You don't try to replicate a problem. You try to solve it with the next iteration of it, which would be the solution. I don't think that we want to have a Supreme Court down to a local court and where to get a court case appealed, it might take 6 years. I don't think we want to set that up no more. I think we want efficient courts. I think we don't really want cash bonds. I think we want to set up a no cash bond, just signature bonds. I think we want to set up all of these things that we've learned since they set up this court and police system 200, 300 years ago. We've learned a lot since then. How is it improved? They got better armor? Now they don't just have bullets, they got rubber bullets so they can terrorize you without killing you and going to jail. They can give you some internal bleeding somewhere, but if you die later on, they not gonna lose their job. Realistically, I'm kind of fed up with the system just because I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it with people around me. I was a criminal justice major. I wanted to be a lawyer. Up until my sophomore year in college, I was going to school to be a lawyer. And I seen what it was and said, not only is the whole system BS, but even to get to that position is BS. Like, y'all gonna force me through these 4 years. I'm gonna go do law school. I gotta go be a paralegal or go do some. Meanwhile, while I would just be entering law school or on my law school journey, I've already doubled my salary 2-3 times in a business career while I would have still been struggling to hopefully find a position in a practice somewhere. It didn't make sense to me. None of this stuff makes sense.
But then you kind of contradict what you said about our people in. So we need our people in all of those positions as well.
That's where it's tough for me because, and maybe it's just my position and how I've been on the opposite side of that power structure, but I have very little respect at face value for a minority in an oppressive system. It's hard. It's hard. And I know there are good people because I know good cops that's retired cops. I know black people that's been sheriffs. We know personally good people. But right now, over the years, maybe, but it's so blatant. It's so right there.
And that's why we need to get more of our people in those positions. You got to balance that out. I don't think you need to have a separate system, but we do need to have more black officers. We need to have more black chiefs. We need to have more black governors, mayors, senators, representatives. We need all of those things, and you need a lot of them, because one or two is not going to make a difference, but you got to have enough to make a difference. And I think that's one of the things that will make a difference.
How much is enough?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Because, I mean, if you look at from 40 years ago to right now, I mean, we've had Supreme Court justices, we've had the president, we've had like military leaders, we've had judges, we've had police, and in numbers, because more people are educated. There are more black lawyers and doctors and all these things every day, but they still doing the same thing. So how much is enough? And then what's the next step after we end there to actually do something?
See, maybe you don't see the changes that's really been made. Maybe there are internal changes that's being made that it might take time for it to trickle down for us to actually see. Like you don't necessarily see the results of the laws and the things that's created until later on, you know? And maybe that's one of the situations, but I think if we would get more people that would get in those positions that look like us and feel like us and think like us, but it's going to be hard to deal with that. It's going to be hard. I don't see a way that we can I don't see where it's going to just change.
The key thing you said was think like us. Because why I, at face value, don't respect people in the oppressive system that's helping their oppressor oppress the people like them is because they don't think like us. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. There's a bunch of people out here that look like they're on our side, but are not on our side. And realistically, when they wear that uniform and they got that mask and that armor on and that face covering and you don't know who that is, how can you tell the one with the heart apart from the racist that's out there to hurt people?
You can't tell the difference.
So therefore, they cannot be in that environment. Because if you have a heart, how can you?
In that environment. Just think if they wasn't. You got to have, as I was talking the other day about the restraint, you got to have people in there to buffer that. I think it's important that you have people, and you don't understand there's limitations to what a person can do.
I do understand. One of my coworkers shared with us how he was on the inside, tried to force change from the inside, and was disciplined heavily for it.
So we don't see that and we don't know that, but I
But
just know in life and in different things that, yeah, you go in with good intentions thinking you can make a big, great difference and turn the world around, but it don't turn around just like that.
so when you realize that you can't, isn't it your responsibility to find a way that you can? If I want to be a policeman and I go in and say, look, I'm shutting down all racism in this police force, and I get in there and I get to make a little wave, but eventually they just get me about the paint because they not going for that. Isn't it my responsibility to not try to be a police and make that change that I see they're not going for and try to make the change in a more effective and efficient way?
But I still think you need those people to buffer. You got to have the buffer because if you move all of them out of the way, then look what you got.
But we not moving them out the way. We're not taking them off of their riot shields and sending them home to look at the TV. We're taking them off of their riot shield post and putting them on our side with all of their knowledge, all of their training, all the tactics that they have. That's what they can use to help us. Because when I see police, National Guard, and armed forces shooting tear gas at innocent protesters, and it's going to sound crazy, but it really hit me hard because that crowd was very Caucasian American.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't the thugs that they like to call rioters and looters, and wasn't nobody rioting. They were literally just standing with signs. Nobody even said a F you Trump. Like, they were peaceful, and they did that to them. We got a mountain to climb. We are defenseless, and at least that's what it feels like from time to time, that there's hope that once you die you're gonna go somewhere good, but there's just a wish that you don't die. There's just a wish that I don't get shot today, that I don't get choked today, that I don't have a heart attack today, that I don't get in a car accident today. There ain't really too much hope that I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. I don't know if I'm gonna go to the gas station and cop pull me over at Escalade and today is the last day of my life. I don't know if I'm gonna be riding down the road and an 18-wheeler pull out and bow. Today's the last day of my life. How we planning for? And that's also where it get tricky, because I bet my great 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 grandfather that I never knew had hope, and it didn't change for him. And
But you know what that hope did for him? Hope kept him trying. Hope kept him going. Hope kept him doing. So you can't lose your hope.
so what if you lose hope in the system? Because I think that logic says the system don't work, and you can emotionally tie yourself to it. But if you just look at, if you had to run a report and say, how is this system performing? The system don't work. How do you keep hope in that system? Or do you find hope somewhere else?
Well, you're gonna, but you're in the system.
Exactly. So
See?
it's hard to be in a system hopeless. And also, it's very hard to manufacture some hope, because when you look at history and you look at the track record of from slavery to civil rights to now, and how little it has changed, there's only so much hope you could, like, you can't hope that it's just go. I don't never hope that we have our own black police force. I've lost all hope in that. It's not gonna work.
But it's really changed. Just think about it. Just think about it. That's really been a major change. Maybe not as much as you would like them to change, and I think that's one of the things about you, your age. I was talking to Ned about that earlier, about people 40 and under probably different than people 40 and over. And that's just the way it is. But I think there's been some changes, and some more change to come. But We got to get more people involved and in those positions, and that's about the only way you can do it, because we can't get out of. I don't see how we can get out of this system. How do you get out of this system?
That's the question that I want everybody to ask themselves, because I think that's the solution, personally. And realistically, I've done too much accidental research on civil rights movements and stuff by learning about Malcolm X, by learning about Huey P. Newton and Eldridge Cleaver and the Black Panthers, and learning about MLK and the intricacies of the Southern Baptist Leadership Conference and the movement and the different players. Like, you got Jesse Williams, you got MLK, you got Al Sharpton, and then the different geolocations of these movements. So Northwest California for the Panthers. You got Upper East Coast, a lot of Panther chapters there. But down south, not as big, just because of geopolitical factors that come with the different types of movements. They really wasn't going to go nonviolent in Oakland, California. And they wouldn't have survived patrolling with guns in Georgia. So understanding this, it's a lot more intricate than a simple solution. There isn't a blanket that we can throw over police brutality, or a blanket we can throw over racism, or a blanket we can throw over this capitalism, or a blanket we can throw over this joke of life that America has everybody running through. Like, we have to find a way to solve the problem in each little intricacy of that problem. The financial aspect, the emotional aspect, the physical aspect. Americans still obese. We don't talk about it no more because that supersize me is long off the air, but Americans still don't eat and aren't the healthiest. If COVID didn't expose it, we don't have the most booming healthcare system either. There's a lot of intricacies and a lot of little things at play. We can't get caught up in one, because if we focus on and get out of the police brutality system, we might mess around and get out of the healthcare system too. You know, like if we focus on getting all the black people money and what is it called? Reparations. If we focus on everybody getting their 40 acres and a mule, what might we lose out on the back end from that? So it's a lot to solve, and it's tough because they only let you look at one problem at a time. A lot of y'all don't remember COVID. I can tell because y'all was at them protests 60 and 80 deep.
I had my mask on, and I stayed away from everybody, and I didn't shake anybody's hand, and I didn't get in anybody's face.
Realistically, COVID better pop off mid-June, because if people ain't dying crazily in July, I'm throwing out there, COVID wasn't real, because y'all said that mass gatherings was a no-go. These folks went out there and rioted and protested and coughed all on each other with tear gas and smoke on them.
Masks on.
So, essentially, problem is the system.
The system is broken. The system is broken.
What's the solution?
Just got to work to fix the system, because I don't know of another system that can just replace it.
Why can't we work to find a system to replace it instead of fixing the broken one that's here? Like, is it ever a point where you owe $10,000 on the car and it has $20,000 worth of damages and you just total lost that car and get another car? I think this system's a total loss. There's no hope. Donald Trump is our president. There is no hope in the system. We elected Donald Jerome Trump from The Apprentice to run our nation. Governor Brian Kemp lost fair and square, point blank, lost the governor's race for Georgia and threw out all the votes for his opponent, and he's our governor. We got a total loss this thing, Leroy. I don't see salvage. I don't see, even if we spend $20,000 to fix everything, it's a $10,000 car. It's still got all the same problems that it had before we did $20,000 worth of repairs. And that's honestly why I haven't been looting. I haven't even been to a peaceful protest, because it's not any direction. There isn't any end goal. I want a solution, even if it's not our own system, even if it's you know what? We'll assign black policemen to black neighborhoods. We're going to try to keep the other ones away from y'all. That's a solution in my eyes. That's a compromise between my own police force and you assigning people like me to protect me. That's a solution. What are solutions that we can have? Because we've been talking about the problem since Egypt. Where was they at before they was in Egypt? But ever since then, we've been looking for solutions to problems. And
But the biggest thing we're talking about the system is broken. What's broken is man. If man wasn't broken like he is, the system wouldn't be broken like it is. Because that's the problem. That's what's got to be fixed. Man. And we've got a change of heart. It doesn't matter what system you institute. If that man heart is wicked and evil and he desires to do something, he's going to figure out a way to do it. As I said, there's so many rules already in place that are always broken. You know, even it's just the way it is. The president, he broke rules today and he got up there and said one thing and he showed something else that totally violated the Constitution that he swore to uphold. And I'm not talking about black and white. I'm talking about written Constitution that's the law of the land here in America. So, and the heart is broken, man is broken. And the racism, that's got to be a change of the heart. You can't make a rule, regulation, law to cause a man to not be prejudiced, to be racist. You can't do that. That's got to come from the heart. That's got to be a change in man's demeanor, his heart, his thinking, his mind.
And I think that's about the one positive thing we got from Donald Trump is a lot of people are changing. A lot of people, if it was intentional, taught, passed down through generations, a lot of people had that hatred and racism kind of in their mind and hearts. Even if it wasn't conscious, it was just subconscious. They had that negativity just within them. And I've seen people that through Trump year 1 were very negative. And then Trump year 2 were still negative. Trump year 3, they kind of started getting a little quiet because I think they started to realize how stupid they look, how crazy they look, how it just looks like something's wrong with them. And I think that between then and until this all blows over, those people will make those proper self between then and when all of this is all over, those people will make the proper self-analysis, examine their heart, and improve their quality of how they treat people, improve the quality of how they look at people, improve just their self-respect. Because if you respect yourself, you won't live with hatred. Like, if you respect yourself, you won't allow for someone's skin tone or the way they look to ruin your day, to impact you in a negative way. So if you love yourself and respect yourself, you got to love and respect others.
I agree with that. And I think too with number 45, President Donald Trump, with him, I think what happened is people see in him what they see so much of that, then they see the reflection and they don't like it. And that makes them, as you said, start examining their own heart. And maybe it was such a time as this that he's put in place. And hopefully people will see that, because that's not the way people are supposed to be. People are supposed to be caring, sympathetic, loving, cooperative, and respectful. That's the way it's supposed to be. My biggest problem, Joshua, to be honest with you, is Christians. I have a big problem with Christians that bashed President Obama because they said he was a Muslim and said he supported gays and that all these other things. And he is so anti-Christian. But you remember that passage I read yesterday? See, Romans 1, verse 18 through 32. You can't stop at verse number 26 when he talk about what happened to people where God is taking his hand off them. You can't stop at that. You can't stop at the ones that conservative Christians want to lift Donald Trump for and bash President Obama for. You got to read on down where it talk about love and mercy, where it talk about breaking promises, where it talks about being merciful, where it talks about not lying, and those other things. See, and treating people right, we eliminate those, so you can't do that. You can't lift up one. You can't give life to the unborn and kill the innocent at the same time. It ain't right. Right is right, is wrong. So, and I got a problem with that, and I can't understand that.
Recently, I've been having a problem with, you can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes around Christians, because I found out that the more that I learned about the Bible, about Christ, about God and his intentions, the more I realized that a lot of these Christians have no idea who Jesus Christ is. A lot of these Christians do not understand the context of his life, of his miracles, of how the stories of Jesus' life are told. They don't understand the meaning behind these things. And I can tell it when people are quoting scriptures and stories out of context, just throwing things out there. People aren't, it's easy. Like, you can just Google the verse and it'll come up a list of meanings and interpretations and different things like this. You can do your research, but these people don't even know the verses. These people don't really know what Jesus was here for, who Jesus was here for. These people don't seem to know or care about being like Christ, because...
And that's the thing about it, is being like Christ. We used to wear a band, what would Jesus, WWJD. I never wore one. But what would Jesus do? And I guarantee you, he wouldn't do what we're doing. The majority. He wouldn't be hating. He never hated on sinners. He hated on hypocritical religious folks. Those are the ones he hated on. Never the sinner. That's the way it is. And that's what we have, a whole bunch of look at me, Pharisaical Christians. And you want to look like you're doing good. Why do you want to run all over the world? And I've got no problem with evangelism. We're called to do that. But how can you go over there and love and support and share and give to everybody else, and then your next door neighbor is suffering and hurting, and you go past them to people all over the world so you can say, look what I've done? One of the things that I'm thinking in people's minds, people want to put a mark on their gun barrel. Like the old gunslingers. I took one down. I won one, I won two, I won three. All you want is a mark on your record. But then what about you living that life and showing? It's more than introducing somebody to Jesus. It's about showing somebody Jesus in your life. And that's by loving, being merciful, being kind, being just, doing justly. All of those things. And we got a long way to go.
A long, long way to go. And realistically, it's going to get a lot worse before it get better. It's going to get a lot worse because 45 is itching to kill us. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. He's really itching to tell the National Guard, mow him down.
And when you say us, you're not even talking about blacks.
No. Poor people.
It's us. It's the ones that's trying to stand for justice.
And it's not the poor people, as in like literally poor. It's poor to Donald Trump. And that's everybody.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
That's 90%.
That's everybody. And you said something earlier that made me think about his base. But he sold them on, you're just like me. I'm not a politician. I can do politics. I'm a businessman. I pulled my own self up. I started with a little loan from my dad, and you're like me. And he sold that to them, and they bought that. So when he won, they won, even though they don't win anything. But now what's happening is they see so much of them and him, he losing and they losing too. And that's magic to me. That seems like God's will on earth is in as it that seems like God's will on earth as it is in heaven, that people's hearts change regardless of if their heart changed because they wanted to do good or because they realized they were doing bad. Hearts are changing. So no matter how the protests are going, no matter how kind of unjust everything is, how defenseless most of us are, um, it's getting better. It's getting better. So I guess you just gotta be happy with the percentage of increase that you live to see and don't expect for the problem to get solved.
But you work towards it. You live your whole life with the hope and the thought of changing it and perfecting it. And it should give you encouragement when you see a little step, a little change. Because a little step or a little change going forward is better than standing still or going backwards. I know it seems like we're going backwards, but we might be going backwards physically, but I think the minds and the hearts of people are changing moving forward. So it's not necessarily in a very bad place. I think it's going to turn out better than we think it is. That was one of the things I was going to say, and while you was talking, I was thinking about it, and I kind of forgot what it was, which is something I do quite often. So,
well, let it come back. What was I talking about? Donald Trump, his people being stupid and failures just like he was, but he convinced them that if y'all get behind me, failures will start winning. He won. Failures didn't win too. He gave them $1,200. They was happy. All the Republicans that were so conservative and anti-government handout was ready to lose their mind over a stack. And happy to get it and not complaining that the government gave them some money. Let Obama give somebody $1,000 tax credit. Not even a cash deposit, a tax credit. They would have lost their mind. But did that jog your memory at all?
No.
What?
I don't even know what I was thinking about.
No, man. All I'm thinking about is how that's a sad reality to accept.
Well, that's where you are, and you're in that group, and we need that group. We need all groups. You need the whole thing. You need your fire and your fervor, but you need my calmness, so you don't burn up. But I shouldn't pour water on it.
And I guess it depends on what your end goal is. Do you want to burn it down and build something new, or do you want to make your progress?
Do you want to burn it down and build something new, or do you want to just burn it down because you want to burn it down?
I want to burn it down and build something new, personally. I haven't been to a riot. I haven't done a loot. I haven't done a peaceful protest. But I've sat at home with my loaded guns, crying tears of joy that my people is fed up. Because I've been fed up for a minute, and I've been fed up and suppressed it and fed up and numbed it with this and fed up and isolated from that. But to see everybody else fed up finally too, it's a good thing to see. It's a good thing to see chaos in the streets, because it's been chaos all around us and we've been expected to stay normal. Everything has been chaos, but we've been supposed to stay in line. Forget that. We chaos too. Everything in America gonna be chaos. Well, we gonna be chaos with it. But again, like you said, that's an accepting reality, and I'm pretty sure in 2 months I'll be about like you. Y'all go home. We can talk it out, and we gonna get people in positions to hopefully. I guess my only gripe with that is, bro, we can get everybody in a position that you want to. They can have all the laws. They can have all the buffers. They can have anything you want. But if that racist cop pulled that trigger, it was for nothing, because my life is gone.
That's true.
So you can have as many police, as many judges. You can put Obama as the Supreme Court justice. we can do whatever we want to do. But if they squeeze that trigger, that life gone. And y'all don't get me back.
That's true.
So I can't take that. We got to prevent that from being a possibility, not lower the probability.
How can you stop that from being a possibility?
Black police police black people.
But what if that black police had the same heart as that white police? And he pull you over and pull the trigger. The heart
actually happens. So.
I don't think the heart, that's what I tell you. It's the heart. And I always tell people, God can change hearts. And that's the only hope that we really have, is if the people's broken hearts will be mended and made right. Because you're right. And I don't think that's necessarily a color thing. Because you're right, there's been mistreatment among by blacks, and even in those roles of authority. You know? So, I don't know.
So, for you listeners that have been listening to the last however long this podcast will end up being, we started off with "we don't know," and we ended with "we don't know."
But this I do know. Hearts of people has to change, because you can't change it in organization, regulation, legislation. It's got to be a transformation. God's got to change the heart, and that's the way it's going to be. And if God changes your heart, then you won't be a racist. If God changes your heart, you won't do these things that people are doing. That won't be an issue. And my question is, I wonder how many people that say they've been changed. I got a problem with that, because you can't say one thing and show something else. This is the last thing I'm going to say, and you can take it from there, Josh. But the Bible says this emphatically: how can you say you love God in whom you have not seen, and don't love your neighbor that you see every day? You're a liar, and the truth is not in you. Jesus said, "A new commandment I give you, that you love one another." And that's just the way it is. And if you don't do that, then I question your salvation. I question your Christianity. And that's what gives Christianity a bad name. We're saying one thing, but we're showing something else. I say, if you're not going to live it, stop talking it.
It is very okay to be quiet. Right now, there's a lot of people pushing a lot of people to make statements. There's a lot of people pushing people to talk about things that they're uncomfortable talking about, that they can't talk about with the right preparation and intention and awareness of the outcomes and implications of what they say. So let's give these people time for their hearts to change. Don't force your last week they was racist friends into being Black Lives Matter this week, because it might not be sincere, and then they might rub you the wrong way. Let people's heart change on their time, on God's time. You aren't going to change their heart because George Floyd died last week. You're not going to change their heart because Trump is attacking innocent Americans. But you can have patience with them while their hearts change. And you gave your final statement. I got to leave with my final statement as well. For all of you out here, while we're waiting on the hearts of people to change and the system to get better and these things to get better, ensure that you can be here to see it when it's better. Protect yourselves. I don't want to get a text, a call, a Facebook message, have to buy a t-shirt. I don't want none of that, because any of my friends have been involved in any instances with policemen, looters, rioters, a racist neighbor, someone at the gas station, at Walmart. I don't want no instances where your life is gone because we can't get that back. So protect yourself. Firearm safety is very important, is very integral. I'm going to point you guys to Brass Droppers. Brass Droppers is a movement in firearm safety training. My good friend Taurus, him and his family started this business and this brand in which they train people how to properly operate and maintain your firearms. So we have firearm shooting training, holster training, we have field stripping training, we have educational programs, so understanding what type of guns, what type of ammo, the laws surrounding your guns, and this is Black owned. So you're supporting Black business when you support them, as well as you would feel more comfortable learning about guns and around guns with Black people helping you through that. Because I go to the range and I do practice shooting, and I can tell you that generally it's not going to be many of us there. Don't know why, but that's just how it is. It may be the locations I go, but that's my experience. So I would feel most comfortable getting this training from someone who looks like me. So reach out to them at Brass Droppers on Facebook or Instagram. Also on their website, www.brassdroppers.com. You can also contact them directly at 770-316-4495 or shoot them an email at brassdroppers@gmail.com. We'll get you all squared away so that you can feel at least a little more safe and comfortable as you live in America. I love you all. I love everyone. As my dad said, you can't hate your neighbor and say you love God. It is what it is. This is the life that we're in. I want everybody to be as happy as possible. To ensure that we can see that happiness, it's imperative that we protect our physical, protect our mental, and most importantly, protect our spiritual. Because this life is crazy, but this isn't the end. I believe that. I don't know what you believe in, but I'd hope and not assume, but I'd imagine that if you're listening to a product of Proverbs, you believe in the same God I believe in. So lean on him, because he's the only one that can get us through these times. So don't lean on your own understanding, because we don't understand anything. Trust and acknowledge him. And I forgot the rest of that saying.
He will direct your path.
So let God direct it, and hopefully the country don't blow up before the fall so that we can enjoy this season 1 break. But in the meantime, follow us on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date on the newest releases. So when we do come out with season 2 in the fall, this will be your main source of information. Also, this will be our first video that we post on our new YouTube channel. So go to YouTube and search for Product of Proverbs, and there you'll be able to see this special episode. And shortly we'll also be uploading all of season 1 to YouTube as well. So we appreciate you for your support, and we look forward to providing more content for you soon. You guys stay safe out here. God bless.